Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to Circling Seattle Sports on Converge Media. I know I'm in the home studio again. I apologize. Kraken practice, by the time you're watching this, has transpired. It runs through our normal recording time. It's been tough. It's been tough. We're working with what we got, though. The show goes on and all that sort of thing. The Seattle sports world, the Seattle pro sports world continues to evolve and continues to push forward. So we'll continue with that. The Seahawks, the Reign. Oh, yes, Seahawks, the Raiders, and the Kraken have all been in action this past week, and the other teams, of course, have other news. So we'll get straight into that with our Seattle Seahawks, who came off the bye week. This was a big game. The Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati looking to take advantage of a team that really hasn't technically gotten back into full strength yet, so to say, after the Bengals struggled to begin the year. And Seattle was unable to come out with a victory on the road in Paycor Stadium. I was kind of shocked. I was so used to calling it Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's Paycor Stadium now, where the Bengals call home. A 13-17 loss on the road in Cincinnati. This was a tough one. The first drive that the Seahawks had in this game, the opening drive of the game itself was a touchdown drive. A lot of chunk plays, 5 plays of 9 yards or more for Seattle. Kenneth Walker III was able to punch it up the gut to score in this one with Jake Bobo in motion in front of him, or Bobo. It was really fun to see that. You think, all right, this is going to be a big game. The Bengals come out and score on the next drive immediately after. So you start thinking, oh, this is going to be a shootout. Seattle unable to respond on their following drive. Cincinnati scores a touchdown on their second drive of the game. And all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh, is this going to be, whoever gets the ball last kind of thing? Have you already fallen in a hole? Seattle is able to hang on, go into the half down by 4 as they get a field goal from Jason Myers. 55. Wait, nope. Yeah, a field goal from Jason Myers. And you're thinking, okay, 4 points, considering how you've kind of struggled after that first touchdown drive, isn't a bad thing. There was some undisciplined play. Penalties were coming into a factor in this game. The Seattle secondary was kind of getting played around with a little bit, obviously, with that Cincinnati receiving core of T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. And they've got Irv Smith Jr. as their tight end, Joe Mixon as their running back, and then obviously Joe Burrow, running the show. So in the second half, the Seahawks defense really clamped up. They only allowed 3 points in the second half to Cincinnati. The only thing was that the Seahawks were only able to muster 3 points as well in the second half. So it's just frustrating there at the end. The last 2 drives of the game, the defensive line for Cincinnati was really able to tear into the Seahawks offensive line that's dealing with a ton of injuries still. Got Charles Cross back this week. It didn't end up mattering. Geno Smith unable to come up with the go-ahead touchdown at the time, and Seattle's win streak is snapped at 3. For our offensive player of the game, I went with Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett just continues to be a consistent elite force for the Seahawks at the wide receiver position. 6 receptions for 94 yards in this game. No touchdown for the real estate agent himself, but still, again, just the consistency and how great of a target he is such a big aspect of the Seahawks offense, to have that, proverbial safety valve, still a deep threat down the sideline, and just such a calm presence for the Seahawks at the pass catching position. Kenneth Walker had an all right game on the ground. Geno Smith, 323 passing yards, but 2 interceptions on the day. 1 in the red zone, which was his first interception in the red zone as the quarterback of the Seahawks. And then the second interception they threw was a little bit more on DK Metcalf. DK and Geno had a miscommunication. DK stopped running his route, or the route at least that Geno thought he was running, and resulted in an interception. So on the defensive side of the ball, kind of tough. There wasn't anybody necessarily that stood out. Trey Brown, cornerback Trey Brown, had an interception in this game, which was nice to see after he came off of he was injured the last few games. But Draymond Jones had a solid game. Three tackles, all of them solo. One sack. It was his second sack of the season. Excuse me, one tackle for loss and one QB hit. Not a bad game for the offseason signing. Nobody really did anything too big in this game per se on the defensive side of the ball for Seattle. It was a tough injury week heading into this game. We'll go over the inactives list first. Offensive lineman McClendon Curtis, offensive guard Damian Lewis out for this game. So again, starting injuries, you're down to your starting linemen with Lewis and Abraham Lucas. O-lineman Raekwon O'Neal, linebacker Devin Bush, and cornerback Artie Burns. There were a few other injuries when it came to this game. I'm a little bit low here. We look at it here throughout the course of the week. On October 9th, Jamal Adams was able to clear concussion protocol. Geno Smith's knee was fine. Charles Cross practiced, and he would obviously be able to play in the game, as I mentioned. Abraham Lucas not able to come off of injured reserve yet. Jason Peters was talked about potentially playing either guard position or right tackle. He did not. Phil Haynes was able to go in this game Yes, he was able to go in this game. He would move to left guard, though, to allow Anthony Bradford, a draft pick from this year's crop of draft picks, could play right guard, something he's more assimilated to. And cornerback Trey Brown did practice. So obviously you'll see a lot of these guys were able to get back. On the 14th, though, the team did place cornerback Kobe Bryant on the injured reserve. He is out at least 4 weeks, dealing with a toe injury that's kind of hindered him for the last few games. Head coach Pete Carroll did say it might be a bit before he comes back, which is unfortunate to hear, considering some of the plays that Bryant has made. And obviously with injuries, again, you're testing your depth. You'd like to be at full strength all the time. It's not going to happen. In terms of injuries at the Bengals, thankfully, knock on the woods, Seattle was able to stay relatively healthy in this game. Wide receiver DK Metcalf did leave at one point with a hip injury and was questionable, but did return to the game and did play the rest of that game. No sort of news as to if that's going to hinder him further, if that's going to happen. Again, we'll roll the banner. Follow us on the social media to keep up with us when we get this news, instantly, as opposed to getting it every Monday. So, yeah, this is a tough game for Seattle. I mean, you get such a strong effort defensively to only allow the 3 points in the second half against this Bengals team that, when they hit their stride, which they might be hitting it now after the last 2 wins that they got over Arizona, which and then the Seahawks, they could be hitting their stride. They very well could be finding themselves once again, finding their form. They're a dangerous team. That air attack is one of the best in the NFL. The Dolphins probably have the best air attack in the NFL right now. But Cincinnati has a damn good passing attack as well. So to lose to this team by 4 points isn't the biggest deal in the world. It's more the fact that you had the opportunity to win this game. Now, it's tough. I got a little bit of flack on Twitter about it. Everybody, kind of gave a lot of criticism to Geno Smith. And it wasn't his best game. It arguably was not his best game. There was at least one sack that he took that was on Geno spinning into it, as opposed to it being his lineman's fault. And again, Seattle's missing 2 starting caliber offensive linemen right now, but they've largely been able to do a decent job. They weren't playing the New York Giants this week, so they couldn't just steamroll everybody. But something, at least from next-gen stats from the NFL, the Bengals became the 4th defense to have 4 different players generate at least 6 pressures in a game since 2020. Sam Hubbard led the Bengals pass rush with 9 pressures, 8 of which came against Seahawks right tackle Jake Curran. So, again, it wasn't like these were things that were not any sort of issue. You've got Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson for Cincinnati, who are excellent on the defensive line, and they were more than willing and more than capable to go and exploit some of the guys who are getting starting positions who normally don't for the Seahawks. So it's a tough one there. Hopefully, Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator for Seattle, is able to look at these things and you're able to game plan around the deficiencies, at least injury wise. It'll be interesting to see if we get any sort of positive update on Abraham Lucas this week, as well as Damian Lewis. It sounded like he was practicing this week, but just wasn't able to go for this game. So again, these are important things. It was important that Seattle got that early bye week. At first, when you see it, when the schedule drops, you're thinking early bye week, not a great thing, considering you'd like to have that bye week late in the season so that you're gearing up for the playoffs and you can rest some guys and get ready for that final push. Seattle, with how banged up they've been early on, they were more than happy to take that early bye week. Again, so overall, tough game. The 2 touchdowns that you give up to Cincinnati on their first 2 drives of the game. Joe Burrow was pissed after the game. He did the post-game interview on CBS, and he was not happy to talk about this game. So again, it's not the fact that you lost to this Bengals team in general or by the score that you did. It's in the manner of which you lost this game. The fact that you should have won this game. You had those 2 possessions late, 2 possessions within 6 minutes of the game ending, and you very well should have had the go-ahead touchdown or more points than the 0 that you put up. So tough one, very tough, frustrating as well. But this very well could be a loss that the Seahawks take and they're able to grow from going forward through the rest of the season. This is only the 3-2 now. Yeah, so this is only week 6. Week 6 of 18. So Seattle should be fine. I'm not too stressed about it. These are there are things that they need to learn from. There were oh goodness, I don't even know what we were looking at penalties wise here. I know that coming into this game, Seattle was the second most penalized team per game in the NFL. So that's not great. Let's look at penalties. 7 penalties for 64 yards. Yeah, not great. Probably should not have to deal with that. So, you outgained the Bengals passing wise, rushing wise. You were 1 for 5 in the red zone, though. That just simply cannot happen. That kind of tells you a lot of the story. Seattle was 5 for 12 on 3rd down. Cincinnati was only 3 for 11. So you did a lot good, but the mistakes that you made were big enough to overpower the positives the positive things that you did. So anyway, wrapping up with the Seahawks here, as a corresponding move to Kobe Bryant being placed on the injured reserve, the team elevated wide receiver Cody Thompson from the practice squad to take over that roster spot. So looking ahead, the Seahawks sit at a 3-2 record through 6 weeks of the NFL season. They're second in the NFC West because the Rams have 3 losses. The Rams have 3 wins and would hold the tiebreaker over the Seahawks. But because they have that extra loss, they are sitting behind Seattle in the standings. So Seattle sits at second. Pardon me. I'm all over the place. In the NFC West. Looking ahead, their next game is October 22nd, back at home, back at Lumen Field versus the Arizona Cardinals. That is a 1:05 p.m. Pacific time kickoff on Fox. The Cardinals are 1-5 on the season. They have been somewhat competitive early on. They are 0-3 on the road so far. They did beat the Dallas Cowboys for their only win, which is kind of funny to see. They did put up a decent fight against the Bengals last week until Cincy was able to pull away. So, this is not going to be a Cardinals team, despite the record that they have right now. They're just going to be able to roll over, especially because this is going to be a divisional game. The Arizona Cardinals seem to always be a pain in the behind outside of that 58-0 game a few years ago. Wow, that's more than a decade ago. Never mind. A few years. Oh, goodness. So, we now go over to our Mariners segment, and it's a short Mariners segment. There's not too much to talk about with the offseason. Make your 54% jokes now. I honestly am kind of bored with those. On the 8th it was announced that center fielder Julio Rodriguez was named as a finalist for the 2023 Hank Aaron Award. The Hank Aaron Award is awarded annually to the best overall offensive performer in each league. The award was introduced in 1999 to mark the 25th anniversary of Hank Aaron breaking Babe Ruth's all-time home run record. A panel of Hall of Famers will combine with a fan vote to determine the winners in the American League and the National League. Voting ended a few days ago, so we should get updates on that. It'll be interesting to see if Julio does win it. I mean, he makes a decent case. If his September was better than it was, you can't really expect him to have continued the August that he had just because of how historic that was. But if he had, at least an average August, I mean September, Julio probably runs away with it decently. Also in the National League, Seattle native Corbin Carroll is up for the award with the Diamondbacks. Him and the Diamondbacks are now in the NLCS, so good for them. Julio had some good stats. If we look at things overall, he's 12th in the AL in batting average. We could have been better. Third in runs batted in, second in hits behind Marcus Semien, 5 hits behind Marcus Semien. So he really, again, if he had a better September, he would have been the hit king in the AL. Tied for 4th in the AL in runs, 6th in the AL in doubles, 7th in the AL in homers, tied for 5th in the AL in extra base hits. He was 3rd in the American League in stolen bases, and 9th in balls in batting average on balls in play. So, Julio, he had a solid year despite a really rough start to the year and a bad month to end it. But there's some learning things. He's got to cut down on the strikeouts. He's really got to cut down on the strikeouts. It's a big thing for him. But there were some obvious growth points. His power to opposite field is so encouraging to see. I'm just, glad that he'll be on this team. He'll be in a Mariners uniform for at least the next decade. The other piece of news for the Mariners on the 13th of October, the team claimed right-handed pitcher Caleb Ort off of waivers from the Boston Red Sox. As a corresponding move to this, the Mariners designated catcher Brian O'Keefe for assignment, which is tough. O'Keefe made a stint with the Mariners last season, and at the end of the 2022 season, had a decent year in Tacoma. Ultimately, wasn't able to do too much up here with the big league club. Caleb Ort is an interesting pitcher. He's had 3 years in the league. ERA is not great. ERA is not the best thing to look at, though. His whip isn't either, but at least looking at his pitching, his fastball velocity is nice in the 80th percentile. He throws 4 pitches, a fastball, a slider, a cutter, and a changeup, heavily relying on that fastball, averaging at 96, the slider at 84, the cutter and changeup both at 91. He'll be interesting to see. You got to think moves like this, are where you got guys like Gabe Spire from last season. And you just wonder if Caleb Ort's going to be a guy that's going to factor into the Mariners pitching factory of sorts. And Caleb Ort's a guy that we're going to be able to use in high leverage next year. We'll see. I mean, he's a guy getting claimed off of waivers. So it'll be interesting to, see if this guy pans out, if we see him in spring training, and if he makes the opening day roster. Seattle's bullpen, has almost notoriously been able to find guys out of the bargain bin for relief arms and get the most out of them, whether that's Topa, Gabe Spire, Taylor Saucedo. So Paul Sewald, before he got traded, he was a guy that was off the bargain bin. So that will wrap that up. We'll go over here to our Seattle Storm, and just like with the Mariners segment, small piece of news for the Storm, at least in terms of quantity, but in terms of quality, it's golden. The Gold Mamba, Jewell Loyd, was named to the All WNBA second team, but the fact that it was the All WNBA second team is insulting in its own right, considering the year that Jewell Loyd had, the history that Jewell made. It's really puzzling that she didn't make the first team. I mean, the WNBA's got a lot of talent. The parity in this league has just continued to grow and grow. And it's really important to see that parity. But with the year that Jewell Loyd had, Jewell doing some things that nobody has ever done, the historic season that she had, it's really bizarre. By that, we'll go over stats in a minute, but at least looking at the first team, Brianna Stewart, Alyssa Thomas, pardon me, and Asia Wilson, all first team makes sense. Nafisha Collier had a great year. Satu Sabali making the first team probably should not. And then we look at the second team, Sabrina Ionescu. I don't know if she should have made all the WNBA team. It's interesting. Jewell definitely should have been on the first team. I mean, we can rehash the statistics for Jewell Loyd. We went through them all throughout the course of the season. We can go over them again, though, if you need me to. First of all, before I get into the many numerous statistics for the Gold Mamba, it was the third time in her career she's earned all WNBA honors, and the second time she's been on the second team. A WNBA single season record for points scored. She missed 2 games, by the way, so she could have even further put on to that performance. Her 24.7 points per game average was the second highest in league history. Was the highest average since Maya Moore back in 2014. Anything with Maya Moore is golden. So, I didn't even mean to use the word golden there. Loyd set a league record this season with 21 games, scoring 25 or more points, and led the WNBA with 12 games of 30 or more points. She scored in double figures in all 38 games this season and holds the longest active streak with 41 consecutive games with 10 or more points. She set and then broke her career high for scoring 3 times over the course of the season, capped by a 41-point performance against Minnesota back on the 29th of June. She finished the season strong, scoring at least 19 in each of the final 9 games of the year, averaging 27.6 down the stretch. I could keep going. I really shouldn't, just because we'd be here for a lot longer, but it's just ridiculous. I mean, she should have been on the first team. That's robbery. That's ridiculous. I'm just happy, though, that she signed her 2-year extension. She'll be here for 2 years. Again, it'll be really fun when we get to come and revisit this Storm segment with free agency, with the draft, with the lottery as well, when the Storm find out which pick they're going to get in the upcoming draft, which is going to be a really talented draft as well. So that's all we've got for the Storm. The Sounders had a week off from play over the course of the past week. Sorry, shirt felt weird there. So there's no match to go over for the past week. At least in terms of training, Raul Ruidiaz was back in training. He was showing some great finishing ability with both feet. And I know with Raul, it's tough, right? Because he's been injured so often, and a lot of the times the best ability is availability, and I understand that, and I've been a critic of that across the different teams that we cover here. But Raul, when he is healthy, does bring such a dynamic ability to score. He can be such an X factor for you and such a killer. So if you're able to keep him healthy for this playoff run, he could be a major factor. It's a big if, though. It's a big if. So I understand there's a lot of, people that want to move on from him. I'd have to sit down and think about how I feel about that. With the contracts coming up and with kind of ushering in a new age of the Sounders, with this offseason, with the new branding, with Longacres, I could very well see it happening. I don't know. That's a different discussion. We're not looking at that. So that's just a note from training. On the 8th, midfielder Obed Vargas was named to the U.S. Youth National Team pre-Olympics training camp as one of 23 players on that roster. The United States would face Mexico on October 11th and Japan on October 17th, which is tomorrow by the time that you're watching this. Vargas scored a late goal in the 90th minute against Mexico to help double the U.S.'s lead 2-0 in that win. So it was nice to see Obed make his impact there. After a really impressive 2022 campaign or early 2022 campaign before being hindered by injury, Obed kind of burst onto the scene for a lot of people. It was really high on a lot of prospect lists, so to say. He's kind of been quiet this year, so it's been nice to see. It was nice to see him get that goal and make that impact with the national team. other sort of national teams related things, on the 10th, defender Reed Baker-Whiting and midfielder Danny Leyva, who is on loan with the Colorado Rapids. So if you're like Danny Leyva, they were both named to the U.S. Men's Soccer Pan Am Games roster, but Baker-Whiting will remain with the Sounders. That would have made he would have missed the St. Louis match at minimum. And Brian Schmetzer and I kind of talked about it and said that it was decided that he was going to remain with the Sounders, considering how much of an increased role that he's had with the club. He played all 90 minutes against Nashville, which is where this photo by John Wilkinson III is coming from. The third? It looks like third. I'm sorry. Well, actually, I can increase it. Let me see. Yeah, it is third. Okay, good. Just making sure I credit people, which if you follow us on Twitter, that was a topic of discussion. Yeah, I Reed's interesting. I think he can bring a great presence for you, bringing the ball up from the defense, or if you want to play him in the midfield. So I think keeping him here with the squad as the playoffs ramp up and get closer is a good decision. I think that was a smart decision. And if he continues to play this way, he'll get more invitations from the national team. I don't think that the other U.S. teams. So the Sounders sit at a 13-win, 9-loss, 11-draw record. They sit at 50 points on the year. Good for 9th overall in MLS, 3rd in the Western Conference behind St. Louis and LAFC. Their next match, as we've talked about for a little bit of a while now, October 21st at St. Louis City SC. Kickoff is at 6 p.m. Pacific time. The Sounders can clinch as high as the second seed in the Western Conference. On decision day, it'll require some help. They can clinch home field advantage with a draw, though. So that'll be big for Seattle. Any playoffs across any league, you want as many home playoff games that you can get. So that will be big for the Sounders. We should know more playoff news and such. Again, I run the banner, but we're about to go into Kraken segment. So follow us on social media. The next time you see that banner, I'll probably run it at some point early into the Kraken segment. Speaking of which, we'll go right into the Kraken segment. We are into the officially, there we go. Words came out in the wrong order. Officially into the 2023-24 Kraken season, the 3rd season in franchise history for Seattle. And it's off to a bad start. Seattle has lost all 3 of its season openers now. 2 of them being to Vegas, which is a little annoying. They always won when the 2 years prior, they won the second game in both years. That wasn't the case in this one. So opening night against Vegas, it was their banner night. We didn't get an actual puck drop until about, I think it was 8:15 or so, because the game before it on ESPN, it was Chicago and Boston, ended up running late. And then there was Vegas, the banner raising. Their banner came out of a slot machine, a big slot machine that showed old Stanley Cups. There was all the festivities. It was Vegas. Of course it was. Vegas looked like a talented team. They looked like a team that didn't lose many players, which they haven't. And they look like a group that's been together. There's still a good functioning roster. Vegas has not started to die off yet. They're still very much a contender. A good amount of people have them going back to back this season. And they showed a little bit of why. A lot of mistakes in this game for the Kraken. The first period was good, outside of a mistake that gave the Golden Knights a breakaway and a goal. Some good shot volume from the Kraken, some good generation, and it just kind of deteriorated along the way. 2 goals in the second period. 2 goals, and then the empty net goal give us our final score here. Just frustrating. Jared McCann does get the first goal of the year for Seattle, coming off of his 40-goal performance last season. McCann is our player of the game for that game. 1 goal, 1.5 shots. McCann becomes the 3rd player in NHL history and the first in 100 years to record a goal in each of the franchise's first 3 season opening games. So more history for Canner there. Just a tough game. Some good things again from Seattle. They did look a little bit sloppy, but It's night one. It's a good Vegas team. No reason to really overreact. Then night two, October 12th at the Nashville Predators, a 0-3 loss. Seattle gets shut out. Similar to the game in Vegas, the first period is good, chance generation wise, but the quality of the shots kind of goes down in the next two periods. Plus, the fact that you're facing goaltender UC Saros for the Predators, who is an excellent goaltender, one of the top 10 in all of the NHL. You could argue top five. Um, Seattle just unable to come up with any answers to beat him. They're not able to get the greasy goal. A lot of their shots were in tight against Saros, which is where you want to get those shots against him so that you can come in and get a rebound potentially and, get one past him. They were unable to do that. The power play continued to struggle. The Kraken power play continued to struggle in Vegas and struggle here in Nashville. And when we get to the Blues game, we'll talk about that. The Kraken had a power play late in that game against the Predators that looked really good. It looked really good. They really hemmed in Nashville and their killers. The only thing is the Predators' killers were able to block the shots, and Seattle was unable to come up with a power play. It was arguably their best-looking power play of the year so far. The one before it, there were only two in the Nashville game. The one before it was ugly. In the second period, Nashville dominated the puck in that one. They got multiple clears. They also got a shorthanded goal, and that shorthanded goal kind of became the unraveling. And I talked about it in our instant reaction on the Circling Seattle Sports YouTube account. It after that shorthanded goal, the team kind of crumbled like a Nature Valley bar. It was not the greatest, resolve after that shorthanded goal. The Predators get an empty netter, and it's an 0-3 loss. Our player of the game, despite the score, was goaltender Philip Grubauer, 32 saves, a 941 save percentage, 2.48 goals saved above expected. If you do not know what that means, essentially, Grubauer saved, well, I'll put it better this way. The Predators should have had two and a half more goals than they did, but because of Grubauer's play, it prevented that. So tough one in Nashville. Nashville, they kind of retooled. They look like they're going to be a better team than they were last season. They put up a hell of a fight, and Saros is one of the best goaltenders in the league. So you're like, all right, lose the first two. You're going to round it out against the Blues. You've shown some positives through the first two games. Put it together against St. Louis. Wrong. You get a point in St. Louis, which is fine because this game goes to a shootout. Well, not fine, but get a point because this game goes to a shootout, but the shootout woes continue for the Kraken. Back in year one, back in the inaugural season, the Kraken went 3-1 in shootouts. Since then, they have gone 0 for 5 in shootouts. Last year, they went 0 and 4, and in this game, obviously 0 for 1. So, tough one here. Again, first period, you generated some good chances. Toward the end of it, though, St. Louis kind of pushed back on you. In the second period, the Kraken get on the board first. The Kraken would have had a goal previously, but Jared McCann kind of lightly grazes Jordan Binnington. Binnington flops. His knees come out from below him, even though that's not where the stick touched him. It's called for goaltender interference. So that's taken off the board. It would have been a goal for Vince Dunn. Instead, Jaden Schwartz gets the first goal of the night here on a tip-in. Great play from Schwartz. The former Blue scores against his former team. But right after St. Louis is able to answer on a breakaway. So tough one. Nobody scores towards the end of regulation. Nobody scores in overtime. In overtime, though, Adam Larson gets a shot in the dying seconds of overtime that just barely hits the left leg pad of Binnington. If it was an inch or two up, it would have gone in and the Kraken would have won. Alas, we go to the shootout, and nobody scores for the Kraken in the shootout. They go 0 for 3, and only one Blue scored, and it was their last player of the three to score. And that sends the St. Louis fans home happy. Our player of the game, goalie Joey Daccord in his first start of the season, 24 saves, a 960 save percentage, and 1.07 goals saved above expected. We already went over goals saved above expected. And as I mentioned, he just saved 2 attempts in the shootout. So tough one. Seattle, out of those 3 games, only comes out with 1 point in the in the standings. Our player of the week, there's not a lot of offense to go over. Not too many of the defensemen were particularly too exceptional. Jamie Alexiak did have a great game in St. Louis, though. So I went with goaltender Philip Grubauer. Over the first two games, he's made 61 saves in total, a 918 save percentage, 3.1 goals saved above expected, which is good for fifth best in the NHL right now, and a 0.52 WAR wins above replacement. If you don't know what wins above replacement, yes, baseball friends, it is the same thing. If you don't know what WAR is, it's essentially if you took a league average player and you compared it to what the current player that we're talking about is, how much that player we're talking about is better in terms of value than the league average player. I hope that makes some sense. That sounded a little bit jumbled when I think about it now. But I mean, Gruby's been great. Gruby's been excellent. He was the reason that they were in the game against Nashville. He kept them in that game more than they should have been against the Golden Knights. There's one goal that, you could argue that Gruby probably should have had in that Vegas game. But outside of it, he's kind of been left out to dry on a lot of these breakaways. So unfortunate, really unfortunate. And to see what Gruby did in those first two games and to see what Joey Daccord did in that game against St. Louis, a lot of the media talk, I sorry, it's frustrating because, as someone who's watched like 82 times what? So 164? Yeah. Watch all of those first 2 years games. It's a lot of the goaltender criticisms weren't really fair. I'll admit it. In year one, Philip Grubauer wasn't coming off of Vesna's season, could have been a lot better than he was. The first half of last year, struggled a bit getting out of there, dealt with an injury, and then the second half he looked excellent, and then in the playoffs he was their best player. To come out and start the year like this is excellent. If Dave Hackstall and the coaching staff and Gruby are able to keep him, healthy, knock on the woods, and manage the workload properly, mix Joey in there appropriately, don't burn Grubauer out, you have no problems at the goaltender position. The question I would ask is Joey Daccord able to give you enough to play out as a full tandem and not have to bring up, say, Chris Drieger from the AHL? That's kind of left to be seen, but, I'd give Joey the benefit of the doubt right now. So a tough one. People are asking, should you be concerned, or they're saying that they're concerned with the offensive production right now? Only 2 goals through 3 games. I understand that. I can get that. Seattle, the best scoring team in 5 play last season in all the NHL, struggled really bad on the power play last season. Their 1 goal against St. Louis was a power play goal. So there's that. They were 1 for 1 on the power play. And in the 3 years now, 2 years and 3 games that the Kraken have existed, their power play has largely been horrible. I'm not concerned. I'm not entirely concerned. If we get to, say, 10 games and you're still at this sort of snail's pace offensively, then I'll be concerned. Nick Olczyk said it on the Root Sports broadcast. If you weren't generating the chances that you actually are right now, then I'd be concerned, because the Kraken are generating chances. They're getting pucks on the net. They've hit the pipe a few times. Some of the shots have hit their own teammates on the way towards the goal, and instead of deflecting in, they've just deflected down or deflected the other way. They're generating chances. The first periods have all looked good. Even in the St. Louis game, they look good throughout the game. They're just not getting the puck luck right now. And it's really once those, once the floodgates open, they should be fine. They really should be fine. Your fourth line was a lot more offensive based last year with Ryan Donato, Morgan Geekie, and Daniel Sprong. Sprong and Donato, who are also having decent starts to the year right now for their respective teams. This fourth line now is a lot more defense-based in Tanev, Belmar, and Cartier. A little less when Yamamoto's in there. So I wouldn't be concerned. I mean, we look at the offense, defense, and the special teams. Offense, I think it's coming. Defensively, they've looked decently solid. There have been a few mental lapses that have taken place so far. Some of that's come on odd man rushes. On special teams, power play, the last two power plays that the Kraken have taken, that last one in Nashville, good. And then that one in St. Louis, they scored on. Maybe there's a positive trend going on right here, you know? And then penalty kill wise, the Kraken have not allowed a power play goal yet. They are 100%. I could do the math right now, but I probably don't want to have you guys sitting here looking at me do the math. Penalty kill has been excellent. Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, Jamie Alexiak have all, and Adam Larson have done a great job on the penalty kill so far. Goaltender wise, we went over goalies. So I think it's coming offensive wise. I really do think it is coming. But with the upcoming homestand, you're going to play 3 teams who were in the playoffs last year in Colorado, Carolina, and New York. It's not going to be easy. So you're really going to kind of need to, just kind of get one in against Colorado early and then hope that it comes in bunches. And then you can go from there. Carolina was kind of embarrassed tonight, Sunday night, by the Anaheim Ducks. I believe it was 6-3. I can look that up quickly. It's not like I'm going to sit here and do too much math. I just look at scores. Yeah, 6-3. Wow. So who knows? But I long story short, I'm not concerned right now. Maybe come back next week and they haven't won a game yet. Then I'd be concerned. There you go. Okay. We have injury news, unfortunately, in the season opener for Brandon Tanev sustained an upper body injury. It's undisclosed currently. The team hasn't put a label upper body, lower body, head. Well, they wouldn't say head because the NHL is upper body or lower body. Suffered what we're going to call an upper body injury as he took a blindside hit to his head and neck area. He has not been able to come out for the morning skates. He has not been out for pregame skate. So he's not been available, or there's no real update over the course of the past games. Dave Haxel hasn't said anything. The team has not put an injury designation on Tanev. Brett Howden, the Vegas forward who laid the hit on him, did get a 2-game suspension. So there was that. But yeah, Tanev took that blindside hit. It really looked like it was a hit to the head. I imagine he's concussed. The team hasn't made a corresponding move to bring a forward up from Coachella Valley yet, so I imagine he should be back sooner rather than later, maybe during this homestand. We'll see. We might learn about that more from practice today, Monday. So again, follow us on the social medias. That would more than likely be on Twitter when we get that out more instantly, to get that sort of news in real time as that's playing out. So looking ahead, the Kraken sit at a 0-win, 2-loss, 1 overtime loss record. They are sitting at 6th in the Pacific Division with 1 standing point through 3 games. Yes, I know it's hard, Kraken fans. It'll be all right. Looking ahead, their next game is October 17th, Tuesday, versus the Colorado Avalanche. It is a rematch of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, a highly contested playoff round, obviously going 7 games, and the Kraken winning that ever stressful game 7 in Colorado. This is 7 p.m. puck drop. That game is on ESPN. We don't have our root friends for that game, unfortunately. It's on ESPN. Then game 2 of the homestand on Thursday, October 19th, versus those Carolina Hurricanes that I just mentioned that lost to the Ducks tonight. That's a 7 p.m. puck drop. That is on Root Sports. You can also watch it on ESPN Plus if you are out of the market. This is a game. Carolina is expected to be a cup contender. So the loss to Anaheim's a little bit surprising, but I wouldn't put anything past them right now. And then to close out that current homestand and round out our week on Saturday, October 21st versus the New York Rangers. It's a 7 p.m. Almost said kickoff. 7 p.m. puck drop. That is also Root Sports and ESPN Plus. The Rangers as well have a talented roster. I wouldn't put anything past them as well. So take a quick break, water break. as we now go over, to our OL Reign, who it was going to be so stressful. Going to be so. Ooh, I can even play the clip. It was going to be so stressful if the. Oh, I don't think I can. Oh, no, I can. Okay. It was going to be so stressful if with decision day, it was the first ever decision day in NWSL history where every game that was played today, Sunday. Oh, now we're into Monday, 12:34 a.m. Every match that was played started at the exact same time. And so there was all this chaos. I can show you the clip about being stressed out. Can you tell? Can you tell how stressed out about it that I am? Because I'm very stressed out about it. That was me last week. It was going to be stressful. In the first half for the Reign wasn't clear cut. They weren't running away with it. It was a scoreless first half. The Reign had dominated. I believe it was 7 shots in the first half, 3 of them on target, and 1 big chance missed. There were a few opportunities where Chicago goalkeeper Alyssa Nair came out of her own box, and the Reign essentially had an empty net. And they were too slow to put that on goal. Let's see. We'll go to stats here if I can get that right. Yeah, 7 shots total, 3 on target. Yeah, okay, I was right. You're thinking, okay, it's the same old Reign. They're generating chances. They're not going to be able to convert. Then in the second half, 3 goals, 2 of them by our player of the match, forward Megan Rapinoe. Megan Rapinoe, just like the Nike ad. Please do not laugh at me too hard for my imitation of that Nike ad. You can laugh, just don't point. 2 goals, a 9.1 match rating, 70% passing percentage, 1 chance created, 4 total shots, and a 67% chance, 67% shot accuracy. Megan Rapinoe scores a brace, scores the first 2 goals of the match for the Reign. Then Jess Fishlock scores the third. It is reviewed by VAR for offsides, but then determined that it is a good goal. The Reign keep a clean sheet, and with the win, they do punch their playoff ticket because of other results around the NWSL. I believe it was largely because of the New York, New Jersey, Gotham result. The Reign secured the 4th seed in the NWSL, and they will host a playoff match. So, hey, less stress for me now. Now it's playoff stress, which is great, excellent, wonderful. I mean, this was kind of a typical OL Reign match. They were strong defensively. Chicago only got 1 shot on target, and they really didn't. I don't believe they got any big chances. Nope, no big chances. 7 shots in total in the match, none on target, and no big chances. They really didn't threaten Claudia Dickey in goal much at all. And the Reign didn't have Sofia Huerta until the second half, and she only subbed in with 20 minutes left when this game was largely in hand. So this was a typical OL Reign match. They played strong defensively. They generated chances. The difference was today that Rapinoe finished hers. Fishlock finished hers, got a breakaway. The difference, and it's funny, my friend Bella, if she watches this, will know the joke here. Head coach Laura Harvey for the Reign always says, like in every press conference, goals change games. Obviously, that was the case today. It's kind of a Hadoy moment. But yeah, this was big. I mean, this is really big. Coming into this, as you know, I showed you with Stress Me, there was some concern with whether or not the Reign were going to be able to punch their ticket. Whether if they were going to draw, they were going to need a lot of outside help to get a playoff match at all, let alone be able to host. And now they're going to be able to host. So, that's nice. It was really stressful. We'll go over there's some cool statistics from this one. And again, you know, there was the stress coming in, you know, with it's a win and in situation. The Reign had only won 1 regular season match dating back to July. 1. It was all draws or losses, and then the other ones were in Challenge Cup play. It's not good. It's not good at all. So, you know, let's see. So we'll go over some stats provided by OL Brain PR. Hi, Ryan. So with the result and the clinching of the playoff spot, it's the club's 5th consecutive appearance in the playoffs and 7th all time. The current streak of 5 playoff appearances consecutive is the second longest active streak in the league. The Reign finished the regular season with 7 clean sheets, tied for 4th best in the league. The OGs, obviously, if you paid attention when I mentioned the 2 goal scorers, Jess Fishlock and Megan Rapinoe, both of them scored. The last time that they both scored in a game was April 22nd, 2017. That was 6 years ago. Whoosh. Let's see. Claudia Dickey. Claudia Dickey solid in this one. She really didn't have to face much danger, but she was a calm and steady presence. After the first few matches that she started in regular season play, where she kind of made a bad mistake and then played well the rest of the match, the last few nights that she's gotten the starts, she's looked calm. She looked confident. We'll get to her save of the week in a little bit, but kudos to her and her 6 in just her first 6 regular season starts for the Reign. Dickey earned her 2nd consecutive clean sheet and her 3rd overall this season. Fishlock assisted on one of Rapinoe's goals. It was her Rapinoe's 2nd goal. It was her first assist of the season and 25th all time. Fishlock has 42 goals and 25 assists all time. Obviously, all of them are with the Reign. Fishlock is now tied with Lynn Williams for 3rd most career goals for a single club in league history, and is one of 2 players joining Rapinoe to record 25 plus assists with one club. Rapinoe recorded the first 2 goals of the match, which occurred within 3 minutes of each other, marking her first brace of the season and 4th goal of the year. The last time she had a brace was last year on August 14th against Gotham. Rapinoe now has 51 goals all time, which is the most in club history and 6th in league history. The 11-year veteran is one of 2 players in league history who record 50-plus goals with one club. There's an even better stat with that. Let me get that here. Rapinoe is the 4th player in league history with 50 goals and 25 assists in regular season play, and the only one to do so for a single team. So, also, in addition to that, midfielder Quinn recorded their 50th appearance for the Reign. They became the 18th player all time to do so with the Reign. So there are some nerd numbers for you. In terms of injury report, nobody was out for this match. Before the match in the pre-match press conference, Laura Harvey said that everyone was available. With Harvey, that could have been nothing. Huerta, as I mentioned, did sub on for the last 20 minutes. Rose Lavelle was much more of a if they really needed her situation. It was interesting. Some quotes from Harvey during the post-match press conference were kind of telling. Huerta said it was great to get Soph on the field. She's recovered in ways no one believed was about to happen. What does that mean? We probably won't know. And then with Lavelle, Harvey said Rose was sort of there if we desperately needed her to be there, and thankfully we didn't. But she was running after the game so that we can keep her ticking over in preparation for Friday, which is the playoff match. So I'll get this out before we get to team news and then league news. I think this Reign team can make a dangerous playoff run, but they're going to have to execute finishing wise. That's been their issue the entire season. I just talked about it with this being a typical Reign match. They've got strong defensive play. They got depth defensively. Dickey has looked comfortable the last few matches, so I'm not worried about your defense and your goalkeeper. Midfield, if you're able to get a healthy Rose Lavelle for this playoff run, you are as dangerous as any team in the league, and I truly believe that. With the generation of chances that this team already makes without largely having Lavelle this season, you add her to the mix, and it's just another sort of key to this, another piece, a huge piece of the puzzle. Sophia Huerta being back is huge for the Reign. You can now knock on the woods. Oh, sharp wood. Get your typical starting 4 back in the back line. If you want to, maybe Harvey feels differently. Maybe they keep Phoebe McClernand back there to an extent, and they move Lou Barnes back into center back. But Sophia Huerta's service into the box that she provides as an outside back is huge to that generation of chances as well. So and again, if you can finish your chances, I think the Reign can beat anybody in this league, anybody, but they have to be able to do that, and maybe this match where you scored 3 goals, the first time you've done so, this is the first match dating back to July that you've scored more than 1 goal. Um, if this is the match that opens the floodgates, it's with the playoffs across different leagues, it's who gets hot at the right time. Maybe this is that. We'll see. So, anyway, in regards to team-related news, as I hinted to, on the 12th, it was announced that Reign goalkeeper Claudia Dickey earned the NWSL Save of the Week for her close-range stop against the Spirit. Video credit to CBS Sports and the NWSL and Paramount Plus. Video credit, NWSL, Paramount Plus, CBS.
Staub puts one up, wants Rodman. Big collision there. Ball is in the box. Towards Rodman. Rodman saved. Dickey saving right.
And that kind of shows it. I mean, that save in the dying minutes of that match against the Spirit, a team that has had the Reign's number for a while, just kind of shows her comfort and her ability to make that key save, and her ability to play out of the back with her feet has been such a big thing as well. So I don't know. We'll see. And congrats to Claudia on that honor. In terms of league-related news, the San Diego Wave have won the NWSL Shield with their victory over Racing Louisville today, and the Portland Thorns lost to Angel City, who the Reign will be playing in round 1. Portland lost 5-1 to Angel City in Portland, which was not at all expected. That was kind of a big shock. Let me see if I can... I want to make sure it was 5-1. Yeah, it was 5-1. Yeesh. And so the Thorns fall short of winning the Shield for the second season in a row. Last year, obviously, the Reign won it. And the Wave win the Shield in their second year of existence. So they're an interesting team as well. Looking at it, the Reign finished the 2023 regular season with a 9-win, 8-loss, 5-draw record. Fourth in the league table is where they finish out, the 4th seed, with 32 points on the year. They will be hosting Angel City FC on October 20th. That's a Friday at Lumen Field versus Angel City FC with a 7 p.m. kickoff. If you are not able to attend, essentially if you're not in the state of Washington, otherwise I don't want to hear an excuse to why you're not going to Lumen Field that day, you can watch it on Paramount Plus. That's a big one. Angel City, in their last 5 matches, I just talked about them beating Portland 5-1 today. Out of their past 5 matches, they've won 3 of them, and they've recorded a point in 4 of them, only losing 1 of those 5. So Angel City, as I mentioned about teams getting hot going into the playoffs, Angel City might be one of them. The Reign have only lost 1 match over the course of the 2 years of the California teams, being Angel City and San Diego, in their existence, and it was to Angel City. The last time they faced them, 2-1 down in Angel City. So it's gonna be a tough one. It's not gonna be easy whatsoever. Hopefully, we have good news for you when we return. To wrap things up and kind of sticking with the theme of the Reign, our star of the week, and by our I mean mine, star of the week, Seattle star of the week. We haven't had it for the last few weeks. Forward Megan Rapinoe. Rapinoe, again, in the biggest of moments, the old adage of big time players make big time plays in big time games. Rapinoe needed this. The Reign needed this. The Reign needed a win to at least guarantee a playoff spot. If not, again, the draw would have had them. They needed extra help to get in, and to keep her career continuing, keep it alive, to keep this season moving forward for the Reign. The brace, so big in the big moment, and just the knack for coming in big in that big moment for this club, let alone throughout the course of her career. It's just fitting that Megan makes this sort of magic to happen, and has this performance in this last match where they needed some sort of performance. They needed a hero. They needed someone to convert their chances. And of course, who else to do so? So hopefully Megan, knock on the woods, has a few more of those moments throughout the course of a playoff run. Again, it's going to be a big one. Angel City has had some strong form as of recent, but you're on home field. You're going to be training at your home training facility down at Starfire, so you've got some things on your side. So that will wrap us up for the October 16th episode of Circling Seattle Sports on Converge Media. In better spirits today, despite the Seahawks loss. The rain wind was big. The rain wind was really big. Glad that I felt better when I was recording this. The last few times we've kind of had to rush it. Anyway, until I see you next week on, October 23rd, some big consequences for some teams potentially next time that we meet you. I hope that you take care of yourself, be well. There's supposed to be some nice weather in the middle of the week, so I guess enjoy that, as we've got 67-degree weather in the middle of October. Check in on the people that you love. Remember that life is short, and to let the people that you care about know that you care about them and know that they are valued and appreciated. Until I see you next week, always remember, I am your friend, Charles Hamaker. Take care of yourselves, be well, and do whatever you can to make today a great day. Love you.